let's talk about ending up in careers that we just don't love. So for me, I came to this realization at around the age of 28, and I had been working as a corporate engineer for about 6 years at that point. And I had started to feel like something was a little off around the age of 26, but it wasn't until I was 28 when I really knew that this career was no longer for me. I had started this process between the ages of 26 and 28 where I had really started exploring kind of how can I make this career work, or how can I make the best of what I'm already doing? And so some of the things that I had explored were getting a new job and changing employers. I had also explored changing my area of focus within engineering into an area that was sort of the best case scenario, or into an area of work that I was really interested in at the time. I had also explored the idea of going back to school and getting a master's because I thought that a master's would be kind of a way to pivot my career. And one of the last things that I had explored was getting an entirely new degree. So I looked at things like maybe changing into planning, which is very similar to engineering. I had also looked at things like architecture because I really wanted more of a creative outlet in the work that I was doing. And I even looked as far as graphic design. And so over those 2 years, I really slowly made my way through this list of things that I thought would kind of fix my career and fix what was kind of not feeling right in my job and my career at that time. But what I slowly realized is that I just didn't want to be part of corporate America anymore. I didn't want an office job, and any of the career changes that I was looking at would have led me to a fairly similar situation where I would be working in an office and the work would look very similar to how it already did. So for me, I knew that I wanted to be my own boss and I wanted to have a little bit more freedom around how I set up my schedule and lived my life. But how does this happen? How do we get to this point in our lives where we realize that the career that we chose just isn't for us? How do we get to the point where we've spent money and time getting a degree and then, working our way up the ladder in our career and learning a lot and becoming experts and very specialized in one area, only to realize that, a few years into our jobs, we don't like it anymore? And I've done some reflection on this over the years, and I've identified several qualities that I think led me down this path and may have led you down a similar path as well if you're watching this video. So I came up with 5 things that really resonated with my situation. They probably aren't the only things that can lead you in this direction, but they're kind of what stuck out for me, and hopefully they will help you have some clarity as well. So the first thing that I came up with is that I did not question my beliefs. At the age of 17, when you're about to choose, a university program, I was not questioning things at that time. I just took everything that was told to me by adults or society in general as the truth and the right way to be living your life. And so for me at that time, safety and security and success looked like going to university and getting a degree, and then after that, getting a secure 9-to-5 job that would pay you a steady paycheck. And for a lot of people, this is what success looks like, and they're happy with that. But I had never really questioned the belief that this is success. And I had never really questioned, is this my definition of success? And the second thing that I came up with is very closely related to number 1, but that is kind of mindlessly following the conventional path in life. And for me, what I like to call this is just riding the conveyor belt of life. And this really looks like sort of unthinkingly accepting the dominant cultural beliefs of your time when you're being brought up. And so, this conveyor belt really takes us through the process of school, university, job, start a family, get a house, that sort of thing. That's like a very well-known path in life, and it's commonly accepted as being the path of success and fulfillment and happiness. And I think a lot of us, when we're younger, it's very easy to just sort of mindlessly accept this, especially when I was growing up. We weren't really taught to question authority or question what you're being taught in school. It's more like just regurgitate the right answer back to us. You'll get good grades and you'll get that gold star. So number 3 ties into the last 2 as well. And number 3 is really giving your power away. And this is really when we sort of default to others to tell us what to do, how to behave, what is right and wrong, what success looks like. And this could be anyone in your life. It could be, feeling pressure to go along with your friends. It could be your parents putting pressure on you to go into a certain program or to go to university in general. It could be teachers or other adults in your life kind of sharing their opinions on, what they think success looks like. And so you can reflect on this one and ask yourself, where do I give my power to others? Where do I default to others? Where do I look to others to tell me what to do, what's right and wrong, how to make a decision, things like that. This can come down to thinking that others know better than you or feeling pressure to fit in, so you kind of ignore your own personal desires and you just want to go along with the crowd. And sometimes this can be kind of harmless comments from the people around you, so they can see you growing up and they can be like, hey, you're really good at, XYZ things, like you have these skills, and I think because you have these skills, you could make a great lawyer, for example. And so these are kind of harmless comments, but when you don't have a full sense of yourself yet, you're like 16, 17, and you've sort of been doing what you've been told your whole life, because that's sort of how school works, or at least that's how school worked when I was in school. And you could hear stuff like this and think, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, then I'll be a lawyer. And then you can make those decisions just off of a harmless little comment. And conversely, this can go the other way, where people, again, in their kind of own way of being well-meaning, can shoot you down. So let's say that you told someone, yeah, I'm thinking of becoming a lawyer. And they say, oh, really? Like, you, a lawyer? Are you sure? Like, your grades aren't that great. You don't love, reading textbooks or whatever. And they sort of, want to protect you, but they give you this feedback. And again, it can kind of like dissuade you or discourage you from doing that thing that you wanted to do. The 4th thing that I can see clearly in my own experience was feeling a lot of pressure to be on track. And this is definitely linked to the pressure of, wanting to fit in and wanting to follow that conventional path and to be on that conveyor belt. But it's really the pressure to stay on track and stay on schedule. And, there's some commonly held milestones that I'm sure all of us can think of, like graduate high school when you're 17 or 18, go to university, get your 4-year degree, get a job, start to settle down and buy a house and have kids in your late 20s. There's just these milestones that we all kind of are aware of just from living in society. And so for me at the time, there was no question in my mind that I would be going to university immediately after high school. I wanted to be on that track. And because I was graduating high school when I was 17, I also had this like extra little like thing in my mind where I was like, oh, and if I do my degree in 4 years, I can graduate slightly earlier or slightly younger than 21, which is when people typically graduate. And it was just this silly little thing that was like this moment of, or like a badge of honor for being like ahead of track. And I think we put so much emphasis on being ahead and achieving things, when we're young for achieving it, like buying a house young or graduating early or things like that. And you're really praised by society and the people in your life, but no one's really asking you, like, as you're rushing ahead to be early and graduating early and doing things early, they're not really asking you, like, Are you happy? Is this fulfilling? Is this really what you're wanting to be doing? Because you're just focusing on this achievement. And I can think of a friend that I had at that time in university that didn't rush to go to university. They took a year or two off to consider, what do I really want to do? I'm not sure, and I'm not going to rush into university. It's a big financial commitment. It's a time commitment. So I'm going to just take some time and figure out what I want to do. And, that person later went and got a degree in an area that they were interested in. And I sort of can look back and see, at that time, everyone that we knew was in university, and they were kind of that one person who wasn't in a program already. And I think it takes a lot of courage to be that one person that is sort of the odd man out when everyone else is sort of seen as doing the right thing by going to school, when this person really was like, I'm just going to wait and see what I want to do. And they went back to school later and they found a career that they really love and it really fits what they want out of life. And now I know a lot of people from my program that are no longer engineers. And all of us sort of went on that conveyor belt, stayed on track, and did the right things. And now all of us are in our late 20s, early 30s, changing our careers. So the fifth thing that I'll talk about here, and the final sort of quality that I believe leads to ending up in an unfulfilling career, is being disconnected from your truth. And this last one is kind of the culmination of the past four things that I just talked about, because if you are defaulting to others and following societal norms, you're kind of slowly over time disconnecting from your own truth. So this can look like, struggling to know what you want in life. You don't really know what makes you happy. You don't really know what success means to you. And you can have a lot of trouble making decisions. And maybe you have a lot of anxiety around decisions. Maybe it takes you a long time to make decisions. You do like a lot of pros and cons lists, or you talk to like everyone you know and you get all of their opinions, and it doesn't really help. It just sort of adds to the confusion. So with that being said, let's jump into what I see as the way to course correct. If you've gone down a similar path as me and you're now maybe starting to realize that your career isn't all that you had hoped. So we just talked about being disconnected from your inner truth. And so the first way to course correct is to reconnect with your inner truth. It's to reconnect with your own authenticity. And this was such an important part of my journey, and it's why my brand is called Authentic Life Project, because it's really this journey of reconnecting with your truth and your authentic self. And so what this can look like is really starting to reflect on, what are my values? What makes me happy? What makes me feel fulfilled? And it's also reflecting on, where in my life am I perhaps people pleasing? Where am I doing things so that others are happy, so that others are validating me, or so that I'm, acting in a way that won't disappoint others, especially your parents? Another thing to watch out for is where you're trying to fit in, where maybe you just don't fit in anymore. And so a common example of this is your friend group. Maybe you've known the same people forever, they've been your friends forever, and over time, we all change, evolve, grow, and maybe you're growing in a way that it doesn't fit in with your friend group anymore. But it can be kind of scary and sad to outgrow your friends, and so maybe you continue to hang out with these people because you don't have any other friends, or you don't really want to make new friends outside of your friend group. But then when you hang out with them, you don't really feel like you're seen, or maybe like you fit in with them anymore, but you're just hanging out with them because that's all you know. So this first step is really to reconnect with your own truth and identify areas in your life where maybe you aren't living in your truth. And the next step is, once you know your truth, or you have an idea of how to get started, you're not going to know your truth right off the bat. It's really a trial and error process. But once you have an idea of what your truth is, you have to start living intentionally. You have to make choices to now live differently in a way that is in alignment with your truth. You have to say no to things that maybe you always said yes to, and you have to be open to trying new things and exploring those areas of yourself. And the third thing here, it's so important, but be okay going at your own pace. For me, when I was 28 and I had kind of come to the realization that, more school or a new job is not going to fix my situation, I need a whole new career, I felt so much pressure to sort of have it all figured out and have my new career by the age of 30, because that's sort of when you're supposed to be settling down or whatever, and you're not supposed to be changing careers at that time. And so my advice would be to just give yourself the time and space to let things unfold in the pace that they do. I was so focused on finding my career quickly that I think it actually took me a lot longer to get there, because I was focused on sort of quick win ideas as far as what my next career would be, instead of giving myself the time to really think of what is the real thing that I'm going to be doing. And if you are exploring a new career, then my last piece of advice is to really focus on the lifestyle that you want to be living. This is something that I never really considered when I was going into school. I never really considered what the day-to-day life would look like if I became an engineer, or if I became, any career that sits behind a desk all day. And I think that it's easy for us to just assume that this is normal, because in school, you're told when to be there, where to go, where to sit. You're going to be behind a desk all day. And so you're sort of used to that. But I found myself in my corporate career sitting at my cubicle, kind of staring across the room, staring out the window, because my desk wasn't next to a window. And I would see that it was just beautiful outside and the weather was great. And I was sitting there thinking, why am I sitting behind a desk right now? This is the best hours of the day. It's sunny, beautiful. And I have to wait until 5 p.m. to be able to go out and live my life. And even when I'm off work, I have chores and stuff. And so I just really felt like my life was crammed into the weekends, and I wasn't really fully enjoying life as much as I could be. So something you can ask yourself is, is it the work? Is it my boss? Is it my manager? Or is it the lifestyle? And for me, the answer was the lifestyle. I didn't mind the work. It was kind of fun. I'd always had great managers and supervisors, but I just did not want that 9 to 5, 40-hour week behind a desk lifestyle. And even when it came to hybrid work, even if you're working from home, you still are expected to work some sort of hours around 9 to 5, 8 to 5, that sort of thing. You're expected to work 40 hours a week, and you have to kind of sit at a desk to do your job. You can't really go to a coffee shop, and you can't go across the country as much. Maybe some employers are more flexible, but mine was not. And so even with a lot of the freedoms that we've achieved through this hybrid work from home kind of new paradigm, it still wasn't really the freedom that I was searching for. All right, so I hope that list helped you. I hope maybe it helped you see some things in yourself and how you can move forward if you're in a career that you aren't loving right now. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Leave me a comment down below. I love to hear back from everyone. And if you're into this type of content, then think about subscribing, because I post new videos about every week. And I'll see you in the next video.